Jake Miller crawled through the narrow metal tube with his toolbox in one hand and a flashlight in the other. Sweat dripped down his face as he tried to reach the broken gravity control unit. The space was too small and too hot, but this was his job. He fixed things that broke on the ship. The human colony ship called New Frontier was huge. It carried 20,000 people to find new homes among the stars. Jake worked in the engine rooms and maintenance areas. Most people never saw him, which was fine with him. He liked fixing things more than talking to people. Today was different, though. The ship had stopped at a big alien space station. The aliens called themselves Zephyrians. They looked like tall blue people with extra arms. The captain wanted to make friends with them, so there were meetings and ceremonies happening all over the station. Jake did not care about the meetings. He just wanted to fix the gravity unit before it broke completely. If it failed, people would float around the ship like balloons. That would be bad. He squeezed through another tight space and finally reached the broken unit. It was making a weird buzzing sound and throwing off sparks. Jake opened his toolbox and got to work. He had fixed hundreds of these things before. As he worked, he heard loud noises coming from somewhere nearby. It sounded like cheering and shouting. Jake ignored it. People were always making noise about something. The gravity unit was worse than he thought. 3 main wires had melted together. Jake carefully separated them and started replacing the damaged parts. This would take at least an hour. The noises got louder. Now it sounded like music and more shouting. Jake wondered what kind of party the aliens were having. He hoped they would not come near the maintenance areas. He worked better when people left him alone. Suddenly, the floor under Jake shook hard, his tools scattered everywhere. A bright light flashed behind him. When he turned around, the metal wall had disappeared. Instead, there was a big opening that led to a huge round room. Jake blinked in surprise. The room was full of aliens. Hundreds of them sat in seats that went up like a stadium. In the middle was a large circle with a glowing floor. Strange symbols moved across the walls, and music played from speakers he could not see. All the aliens were staring at him. They had gone completely quiet. Jake looked down at himself. He was still holding his tools. His work clothes were dirty and covered in grease. He had electrical tape wrapped around his belt and wire cutters hanging from his pocket. He probably looked like a mess. Sorry, Jake said. I think I took a wrong turn. The aliens started talking to each other very fast in their own language. Jake could not understand what they were saying, but they sounded excited. 3 aliens, who looked more important than the others, sat on fancy chairs at one side of the room. They wore shiny clothes and had jewels on their heads. Jake thought they might be alien kings or queens. One of the important aliens stood up. She was tall and beautiful, with blue skin that seemed to glow. She spoke in perfect English. "The human champion has arrived," she said in a clear, strong voice. "Let the trial of worthiness begin." Jake shook his head. No, I am not a champion. I fix things. I was just trying to repair a gravity unit when..." A loud horn sounded. The glowing floor in the circle turned bright red. Metal walls rose up around the circle, trapping Jake inside. He ran to the walls and pushed on them, but they would not move. "Hey!" Jake shouted. "There has been a mistake. I am not supposed to be here." The aliens in the seats started cheering again. They seemed very happy about something. A door opened on the other side of the circle. Something huge walked out. Jake had never seen anything like it. The creature was 7 feet tall and covered in green scales. It had 4 arms, each one bigger than Jake's whole body. Sharp teeth filled its mouth and its eyes glowed red. The creature carried a weapon that looked like a cross between a sword and a lightning bolt. It pointed the weapon at Jake and roared so loud that Jake felt it in his bones. The beautiful alien woman spoke again. "Vorthak the Destroyer has never lost a battle. He has defeated champions from 12 different worlds. Human, show us what your species can do." Jake looked at his tools. He had a screwdriver, some wire, electrical tape, and a small hammer. The creature called Vorthak had a weapon that could probably cut through metal. "This is definitely a mistake," Jake said to himself. Vorthak charged across the circle. The creature moved fast for something so big. Jake jumped to the side just as the weapon came down where his head had been. Sparks flew from the floor. The aliens cheered louder. They thought, this was exciting. Jake ran to the other side of the circle. Stop! I do not want to fight you. I just fix things. Vorthak did not understand English. Or maybe he just did not care. He charged again. This time Jake tripped over his own feet trying to get away. He fell hard on his back. His toolbox scattered. Across the floor, Vorthak raised his weapon high above his head, ready to bring it down on Jake. Jake rolled to the side. The weapon hit the floor so hard it made a crack in the metal. Jake kept rolling until he hit the wall. Vorthak was getting angry. He roared again and ran straight at Jake, but the creature was moving too fast. When Jake ducked at the last second, Vorthak could not stop. He crashed into the metal wall with a sound like thunder. The wall had an electrical field around it. When Vorthak hit it, blue lightning covered his whole body. The creature shook for a few seconds, then fell down and did not move. The room went completely silent. Jake stood up slowly. He looked at Vorthak, who was breathing but not moving. Then, he looked at all the aliens staring at him with their mouths open. Is he okay? Jake asked. I did not mean for that to happen. The beautiful alien woman stood up from her chair. Two other important-looking aliens stood up next to her. All three were staring at Jake like they had never seen anything like him before. Incredible, the first woman said. The human defeated Vorthak using only movement and the arena itself. Such skill. Such strategy. I just moved out of the way, Jake said. Anyone would have done the same thing. The second alien, who had red skin and silver clothes, stepped forward. Modest as well as skilled. I am Princess Zara of the Storm Colonies. I am impressed by your fighting spirit. The third alien had green skin and wore dark metal armor. I am Princess Keth of the Iron Federation. Your tactics were brilliant. You used your enemy's strength against him. And I am Princess Lirana of the Crystal Realm, said the first woman. Your victory shows great wisdom. Jake looked at each of them, then at Vorthak, who was starting to wake up. This was all an accident. I was just trying to fix a gravity unit. I do not even know what this trial thing is about. The three princesses looked at each other and smiled. He says it was an accident, Princess Lirana said. The mark of a true master, Princess Zara agreed. Only the greatest warriors make their victories look effortless, Princess Keth added. Jake realized these aliens did not understand him at all. Somehow his accident had made them think he was some kind of super warrior. This was going to be a problem. Jake sat in the small meeting room on the New Frontier and rubbed his head. 3 hours had passed since the weird fight with the big alien creature. His best friend Lisa Park sat across from him, trying not to laugh. So, let me understand this, Lisa said. You fell into an alien fighting ring by accident, knocked out their best warrior by running away, and now 3 alien princesses think you are the greatest fighter in the galaxy? That is exactly what happened, Jake said. And it is not funny. Lisa could not hold back her laugh anymore. Jake, this is the funniest thing that has ever happened to anyone. You are probably the first person in history to become famous for being clumsy. Captain Roy Stevens walked into the room. He was a big man with gray hair and a serious face. Usually he looked worried about something. Today he looked excited. Miller, the captain said, do you have any idea what you have done? I broke something, Jake guessed. You have made humanity famous across 3 star systems, Captain Stevens said. The aliens are calling you the human champion. They think our whole species must be made up of super warriors if our maintenance workers can beat their best fighters. Jake groaned. Can we just tell them it was a mistake? We tried, the captain said. They think we are being modest. The Zephyrians have a rule that warriors must never brag about their victories. The more you say it was an accident, the more impressed they get. Lisa pulled out her data pad and showed Jake the screen. Look at this. The alien news networks are calling you the mystery warrior from Earth. They have analyzed your fight video, frame by frame. Some alien professor says your fighting style represents a new form of combat that uses physics and environment instead of strength. I just moved out of the way, Jake said. They think that was brilliant strategy, Captain Stevens said. And now we have a diplomatic situation. Those three princesses are the daughters of the most powerful alien leaders in this part of space. If we handle this right, humanity could gain 3 powerful allies. What do you mean, handle this right? Jake asked, but he was afraid he already knew the answer. Before the captain could respond, the ship's communication system made a loud beep. A voice spoke over the speakers. Attention, new frontier. Princess Lyrana of the Crystal Realm requests permission to come aboard with gifts for the human champion. Captain Stevens looked at Jake. You need to meet with her. Be polite. Try not to break anything. An hour later, Jake stood in the ship's main meeting room wearing his cleanest work clothes. He had washed the grease off his hands, but he still smelled like engine oil. Princess Lyrana entered the room, followed by 6 other aliens carrying boxes and strange devices. She was even more beautiful than Jake remembered. Her blue skin seemed to glow, and her silver dress made musical sounds when she moved. Human champion Jake Miller, she said with a bow. I bring gifts from my people to honor your great victory. The aliens opened the boxes. Inside were crystals that glowed with their own light, books written in strange symbols, and devices that Jake could not identify. Thank you, Jake said. But you really do not need to give me anything. I told you. What happened was an accident. Princess Lyrana smiled. Your humility only proves your wisdom. In my culture, the greatest minds never boast about their abilities. Please accept these learning crystals. They contain the knowledge of our greatest thinkers. She handed Jake a crystal that felt warm in his hands. As soon as he touched it, information started flowing into his mind. He saw images of alien cities, mathematical formulas, and star maps. Whoa, Jake said, dropping the crystal. What was that? A mind link, Princess Lyrana explained. It allows 2 beings to share thoughts and knowledge. But you broke the connection so quickly. Your mental defenses are very strong. Jake had not been defending his mind. The crystal had just surprised him, but Princess Lyrana looked even more impressed. I would like to learn more about human thinking, she said. Perhaps we could study together. I find your mind very interesting. Before Jake could answer, another beep came from the communication system. Attention, new frontier. Princess Zara of the Storm Colonies requests permission to come aboard for a military demonstration. Princess Lyrana frowned. She wastes no time. 20 minutes later, Jake stood on the ship's observation deck watching something impossible. Princess Zara had brought 12 warships with her. They were performing an aerial dance around the new frontier, flying in perfect formation while shooting harmless light beams in complex patterns. Princess Zara stood next to Jake wearing red, armor that looked like it was made from metal and fire. She was shorter than Princess Lyrana but looked stronger. Her red skin had darker red markings that might have been tattoos. This is the traditional warrior's greeting, Princess Zara explained. We show our strength to honor a worthy opponent. Your victory over Vorthak was the most impressive thing I have ever seen. Really, it was just luck, Jake said. Luck? Princess Zara laughed. You used perfect timing, spatial awareness, and environmental control. Those are the marks of a master strategist. I have been fighting for 20 years and I could not have done what you did. Jake watched the ships dance through space. It was actually kind of beautiful. How do they fly, so close together without crashing? Years of practice and perfect trust, Princess Zara said. Each pilot must know exactly where the others will be at every moment. It is like a battle where everyone works together instead of fighting. That makes sense, Jake said. When I work on the ship's systems, everything has to work together. 2. If one part fails, it can mess up everything else. Princess Zara stared at him. You see battle like an engineer sees a machine. Fascinating. Most warriors think only about defeating enemies. You think about how all the pieces fit together. Jake was starting to realize that everything he said made these aliens think he was smarter than he actually was. The communication system beeped again. Attention, new frontier. Princess Keth of the Iron Federation requests permission to board with technical demonstrations. Princess Zara sighed. And now the engineer princess arrives. This should be interesting. Princess Keth was different from the other two. She was tall and thin with green skin and silver hair. Instead of fancy clothes, she wore practical dark clothing with lots of pockets. She reminded Jake of the other engineers on his ship. She entered the meeting room carrying a metal case. "Human champion, I bring you tools, the finest weapons and armor my people have ever made." She opened the case to reveal devices that looked both beautiful and deadly. There were blades that glowed with energy, armor that seemed to bend light around it, and tools that Jake could not even guess the purpose of. "These are incredible," Jake said, looking at the craftsmanship. "How do they work?" Princess Keth's eyes lit up. "You want to know the technical details? Most warriors only care about using weapons, not understanding them." For the next hour, Princess Keth explained how each device worked. Jake found himself genuinely interested. The alien technology was amazing even if he did not understand all of it. "Your questions show deep understanding," Princess Keth said. "You see connections that others miss. I think human minds work differently than ours." "We just like to know how things work," Jake said. "If something breaks, you need to understand it to fix it." "Exactly," Princess Keth said excitedly. "Most people want to replace broken things. You want to repair them. That shows respect for the object and its creator." Jake was starting to see a pattern. No matter what he said, these princesses found reasons to be impressed. It was like they wanted to think he was special. Lisa appeared in the doorway. "Jake, you have another visitor." Captain Stevens walked in behind her, looking tired. "The alien news networks want to interview you. 3 different alien governments want to offer you jobs. And apparently, there is some kind of ancient prophecy about a humble warrior who wins by accident." Jake put his head in his hands. How did fixing a gravity unit turn into this? Princess Lairana touched his shoulder gently. "Perhaps this was fate. The universe brought you to us for a reason." Princess Zara nodded. "The greatest battles are often won by accident. It shows that the warrior is in harmony with the flow of combat." Princess Keth smiled. "And the best inventions happen when someone is trying to solve a completely different problem." Jake looked at the 3 princesses, then at Lisa and Captain Stevens. Everyone was staring at him like he was supposed to have answers. "I just want to go back to fixing things," he said quietly. "But Jake," Lisa said with a grin, "it looks like you have 3 new things that need fixing." Jake realized his friend was right. Somehow he had become responsible for 3 alien princesses who all thought he was something he was not. And he had no idea how to fix that. Jake woke up to the sound of music outside his room. But it was not normal music. It sounded like someone was singing with crystals. He looked at his clock. It was 5 in the morning. He opened his door and found Princess Lairana sitting in the hallway. She was holding a glowing crystal and making harmonious sounds with it. The crystal responded with its own musical notes. "Good morning, Jake Miller," she said with a smile. "I brought breakfast and a learning exercise." Jake rubbed his eyes. "Princess, it is very early." "The best time for mind connection is at dawn," she explained. "When thoughts are clear and distractions are few, I have prepared a special meal that will help our minds work together." She had set up a small table with strange blue food and more crystals. Everything glowed softly in the dim hallway light. "I appreciate this," Jake said, "but I need to get to work. The air recycling system is making weird noises." Princess Lairana looked confused. "You still do manual labor, but you are a champion, warrior. Surely others can handle such simple tasks." "The air recycling system keeps everyone breathing," Jake said. "That is not a simple task." As they talked, loud sounds came from the ship's docking bay. It sounded like explosions. But Jake knew those sounds. Someone was testing weapons. "That would be Princess Zara," Princess Lairana said with a sigh. "She arrived an hour ago with her entire combat squadron." Jake walked quickly toward the docking bay with Princess Lairana following behind. When they got there, they found Princess Zara training with her soldiers. They were practicing combat moves and firing practice weapons at targets. "Jake!" Princess Zara called out when she saw him. "Perfect timing. I have designed new training exercises based on your fighting style. We call it environmental combat. She showed him a complicated obstacle course filled with walls, barriers, and energy fields. Her soldiers were trying to defeat opponents by using the environment instead of direct attacks. This is based on how you defeated Vorthak. Princess, Zara explained. My warriors are learning to think like engineers instead of just fighters. Jake watched one soldier trick another into running into an energy barrier. It was actually clever, but it made him uncomfortable. I did not mean to create a new fighting style, he said. I was just trying not to get hurt. Exactly. Princess, Zara said. Survival instinct combined with spatial intelligence. Your species has developed combat abilities we never imagined. More explosions came from outside the ship. Through the windows, Jake could see Princess Zara's warships practicing battle maneuvers around the new frontier. Captain Stevens appeared, looking stressed. Miller, we have a problem. Princess Zara's ships are making the other aliens nervous. 3 different governments think we are preparing for war. Before Jake could respond, another set of explosions came from a different direction. But these sounded different, more controlled, and that would be Princess Keth, Princess Lyrana said. They found Princess Keth in one of the ship's maintenance areas. She had brought a team of alien engineers and a lot of equipment. They were taking apart one of the ship's backup generators. Jake, Princess Keth said excitedly, I am studying human engineering methods. Your technology is so beautifully simple. Look at this power coupling design. She held up a basic electrical connector that Jake had installed last week. To him, it was just a standard part. To Princess Keth, it was apparently amazing. The efficiency is incredible, she continued. You achieved the same power transfer as our advanced systems, using components that cost a fraction of the price. How did you think of this? Jake looked at the connector. I needed to connect 2 wires, so I used a connector. Princess Keth stared at him. Such elegant problem-solving. You saw the simplest path to the solution. My people would have designed a complex system with multiple fail-safes and backup protocols. Sometimes simple is better, Jake said. Fewer things can break. Exactly, Princess Keth said. Reliability through simplicity. This changes everything we know about engineering philosophy. Lisa appeared next to Jake carrying a cup of coffee and trying not to laugh. Having fun with your fan club? This is not funny, Jake whispered to her. They are turning everything I do into some kind of genius strategy. Maybe because you are smarter than you think, Lisa said. Jake, you solved a territorial dispute yesterday by suggesting the aliens share mining schedules. 3 diplomats had been working on that problem for months. Jake remembered that conversation. 2 alien groups had been arguing about mining rights. Jake had suggested they take turns, like kids sharing toys on a playground. It seemed obvious to him. That was just common sense, he said. Which apparently is not that common, Lisa replied. The ship's communication system beeped. Captain Stevens's voice came through the speakers. All crew members, please report to your stations. We have received priority messages from 3 different alien governments. In the main meeting room, Captain Stevens looked more worried than Jake had ever seen him. Gentlemen, ladies, we have a diplomatic crisis, the captain said. The 3 princesses' families are demanding that Jake prove his worthiness through something called the Trial of 3 Paths. Princess Lyrana stood up. It is an ancient tradition. A potential partner must demonstrate wisdom, courage, and innovation to show they are worthy of royal marriage. Marriage? Jake said, his voice cracking. Nobody said anything about marriage. Princess, Zara smiled. The trial of worthiness was just the first step. Defeating Vorthak proved you are a capable warrior. Now you must prove you can be a good partner. Princess Keth nodded. The trials will test different aspects of your mind and character. Each trial represents one of our cultures. Jake looked around the room. Everyone was staring at him again. What happens if I do not take these trials? Diplomatic incident, Captain Stevens said grimly. 3 powerful alien governments will think humanity rejected their friendship. That could mean trade restrictions, travel bans, or worse. And what happens if I take the trials? You marry one of us, Princess Lyrana said cheerfully. Or all. 3, Princess Zara added. Some cultures allow multiple partners. The important thing is proving human worthiness, Princess Keth said. This could establish humanity as a major power in this region of space. Jake sat down heavily in a chair. A week ago, his biggest worry was fixing a broken gravity unit. Now 3 alien governments wanted him to take mysterious trials that could end with him married to alien royalty. There has to be another way, he said. Lisa sat down next to him. Jake, maybe this is not as bad as you think. These princesses are not trying to trap you. They genuinely admire human qualities that you represent. What qualities? Jake asked. I just fix things and try not to bother people. Exactly, Princess Lyrana said. You solve problems without creating new ones. That is wisdom. You face danger to help others, Princess Zara added. That is courage. And you find simple solutions to complex problems, Princess Keth said. That is innovation. Captain Stevens leaned forward. Miller, I cannot order you to take these trials. But I can tell you that the future of human relationships with 3 major alien civilizations might depend on your decision. Jake looked at each of the princesses. Princess Lyrana with her glowing crystals and musical voice. Princess Zara with her warrior strength and protective nature. Princess Keth with her engineering curiosity and practical mind. They were all looking at him with hope and expectation. Behind them he could see the faces of his crewmates, people who trusted him to make the right choice. When do these trials start? Jake asked quietly. Princess Lyrana smiled. As soon as you are ready, but Jake, you should know something. These trials are not just about proving worthiness to us. They are about discovering what kind of person you truly are. Jake thought about that. Maybe it was time to find out if he was more than just a guy who fixed things. Maybe there was something special about humans after all. Okay, he said finally. I will take your trials, but I want to be clear about something. I am not a warrior or a genius or a champion. I am just a person who tries to do his job and help when he can. That, said Princess Zara, is exactly why you will succeed. Jake hoped she was right, because tomorrow he would find out what humans were really made of. Jake stood in front of 3 massive screens in the alien conference room. Each screen showed a different problem, and behind him sat dozens of important aliens from different worlds. The trial of 3 paths had begun. The first trial tests. Wisdom, Princess Lyrana announced. You must solve a conflict that has lasted for 50 years. The first screen lit up showing a detailed map of space. 2 groups of aliens had been fighting over mining rights to an asteroid belt. The Red Rock miners said they found it first. The deep space excavators said they had legal claims to it. Both groups had been arguing and sometimes fighting for decades. Diplomats, lawyers, and mediators have all tried to solve this, Princess Lyrana explained. Both sides refuse to compromise. They want all or nothing. Jake studied the screen. The asteroid belt had thousands of rocks floating in space. Some contained valuable metals. Others had rare crystals and a few had both. Can I ask questions? Jake said. Of course, Princess Lyrana replied. Why do they both want the same asteroids? An alien diplomat stepped forward. The richest asteroids are in the center of the belt. Both groups claim ownership of that region. Jake looked closer at the map. How many ships does each group have? The Red Rock miners have 30 ships. The deep space excavators have 25 ships. And how many asteroids are in the center region? About 4,000. Jake did quick math in his head. So 55 ships trying to mine 4,000 asteroids. Yes, but they cannot work in the same area. They do not trust each other. Jake thought about this like a maintenance problem. When 2 systems needed the same resource, you either found a way to share it, or you found more resources. What about the outer edges of the belt? He asked. The diplomat looked confused. Those asteroids are smaller and less valuable. But there are more of them, right? Yes, thousands more, but as I said, they are not as valuable. Jake smiled. He thought he saw the real problem. Can you show me the actual mining reports from both groups? He asked. After reviewing the data, Jake's suspicion was confirmed. Both groups were spending so much money fighting each other that their profits were terrible. The Red Rock miners made barely enough to pay for fuel. The deep space excavators had gone into debt, Here is my solution, Jake said. Both groups are broke because they spend more money fighting than mining. Split the asteroid belt into 3 zones. Red Rock gets 1 zone, Deep Space gets another zone, and they both work together in the 3rd zone, taking turns every 6 months. The room went quiet. Several aliens whispered to each other. The shared zone will have the richest asteroids, Jake continued. Working together, they can mine much faster than either group could alone. They split the profits based on how much work each group does. But they hate each other, one alien said. They hate being poor more, Jake replied. And when they see how much money they can make working together, they will want to cooperate in the other zones too. Princess Lyrana smiled. Elegant and practical. You found a solution that gives both sides more than they had before, instead of trying to divide what already exists. The aliens in the room seemed impressed. Jake just felt relieved that he had gotten through the first trial. The second trial tests courage, Princess Zara announced. But this courage is not about fighting, it is about facing the unknown. The second screen showed a dangerous region of space called the Spiral Nebula. It was full of energy storms, magnetic fields, and radiation that could kill anyone who entered unprepared. Deep in the nebula is an ancient artifact, Princess Zara explained. It was placed there by the first spacefaring civilization in this galaxy. Many have tried to retrieve it. None have succeeded. Jake looked at the swirling clouds of gas and energy on the screen. What happened to the people who tried? Some turned back when they realized the danger. Others got lost in the storms. A few made it close to the artifact but could not figure out how to reach it safely. What kind of ship would I use? A standard exploration vessel with basic shields and navigation equipment, the same type that others have used. Jake studied the nebula map. The energy storms moved in patterns, but they were complex and constantly changing. However, they reminded him of something. These storms look like electrical interference patterns, he said, like what happens when multiple power sources create feedback loops. Princess Zara looked interested. You see a pattern in the chaos? Maybe. Can I have 30 minutes to study the storm data? While Jake worked, Princess Keth watched over his shoulder. What are you looking for? Electrical systems create predictable interference patterns, Jake explained. If this nebula is doing the same thing, there should be safe paths between the storm fronts. After careful analysis, Jake found what he was looking for. The storms did follow patterns, just very complex ones. But there were gaps, narrow channels where the energy fields canceled each other out. I think I can map a safe route, Jake said. The actual journey into the nebula took 6 hours. Jake piloted the ship carefully, following the safe channels he had identified. When energy storms got too close, he shut down all non-essential systems to reduce the ship's electrical signature. The other aliens watched his progress on their screens, amazed that he was getting deeper into the nebula than anyone before him. How? Does he know where to go? Someone asked. He reads the nebula like a repair manual, Princess Zara said with admiration. When Jake finally reached the artifact, he found the real challenge. The ancient device was surrounded by an energy field that would destroy anything that touched it directly. But Jake had dealt with dangerous electrical systems before. He used the ship's tractor beam to create a grounded path, safely channeling the energy away from the artifact. Then he retrieved it without any problems. Incredible, Princess Zara said when he returned. You treated the nebula like a machine, to be understood, not an enemy to be fought. Jake shrugged. Most dangerous things are only dangerous if you do not understand them. The third trial tests innovation, Princess Keth announced. You must create something that benefits all 3 of our civilizations. Jake looked at the 3 princesses and thought about what he had learned about their cultures. Princess Lyrana's people valued knowledge and communication. Princess Zara's people were explorers and protectors. Princess Keth's people were builders and inventors. Can I use materials from all 3 cultures? Jake asked. Of course, Princess Keth replied. Jake spent the next 4 hours working with alien engineers and technicians. He designed something he called a universal emergency beacon. It combined crystals from Princess Lyrana's people that could store and transmit information, navigation technology from Princess Zara's people that worked in any environment, and manufacturing techniques from Princess Keth's people that made it cheap and reliable. The beacon was simple but clever. When activated, it would send out a distress signal that any ship could detect and understand, regardless of what language or technology they used. It included basic medical information, location data, and even instructions for first aid. Most people die in space because help cannot find them or does not know what is wrong, Jake explained. This beacon solves both problems. Princess Keth examined the device carefully. The design is brilliant in its simplicity. Anyone can build these with basic materials. And they can save lives across all 3 civilizations, Princess Lyrana added. Plus, ships carrying these beacons can help rescue others, Princess Zara said. It creates a network of mutual aid. The aliens in the room were excited. Several were already discussing how to mass-produce the beacons and distribute them to ships throughout the galaxy. You have succeeded in all 3 trials, Princess Lyrana announced. You have proven wisdom, courage, and innovation. But Jake did not feel like celebrating. Something was bothering him and he finally realized what it was. Can I ask you something? He said to the 3 princesses. Why did you really choose me? Because you defeated Vorthak, Princess Zara said. No, Jake said firmly. That was an accident and you know it. You could have chosen any human after that. Why me specifically? The 3 princesses looked at each other. Princess Lyrana spoke first. Because you listen to what people actually need instead of what they say they want. Princess Zara nodded. Because you protect others without trying to control them. And because you solve problems instead of just talking about them, Princess Keth added. Jake realized they were right. He had been so focused on convincing them he was not special that he had not paid attention to what they were really looking for. You are not choosing me as a husband, he said slowly. You are choosing me as a friend. The best partnerships start with friendship, Princess Lyrana said with a smile. But Jake, Princess Zara added, we still need to solve the marriage question. Our families expect a formal answer. Jake looked at the 3 of them. These remarkable women who had seen something in him that he was only beginning to understand, himself. Maybe it was time to stop running from responsibility and start thinking about what he really wanted. I have an idea, he said. But you might think it is crazy. Jake stood in the center of the Grand Assembly Hall, facing the most important aliens in 3 star systems. Kings, queens, generals, and diplomats filled hundreds of seats. 3 massive screens showed his image to millions of beings across the galaxy. The parents of the 3 princesses sat in the front row. King Aldrin of the Crystal Realm looked like an older version of Princess Lyrana, with blue skin that glowed even brighter. Queen Vexara of the Storm Colonies had the same red skin as Princess Zara, but with silver hair and scars from old battles. Emperor Korthak of the Iron Federation was tall and thin like Princess Keith, but his green skin had darker markings that showed his age and experience. Human Jake Miller, King Aldrin said in a voice that echoed through the hall. You have completed the trial of 3 paths. Our daughters have chosen you as worthy. Now you must choose which of them will be your partner. Jake looked at Princess Lyrana, Princess Zara, and Princess Keth. They stood together, waiting for his answer. All 3 looked nervous, but they also looked hopeful. Before I answer, Jake said, I need to ask all of you something. What do you really want from this? The question surprised everyone. Murmurs filled the hall. You want an answer? Jake continued. But nobody has asked what kind of answer would actually make people happy. He turned to Princess Lyrana. What do you want? Not as a princess, but as a person. Princess Lyrana was quiet for a moment. Then, she spoke honestly. I want to learn about other worlds and share knowledge between our peoples. I am tired of suitors who only want my crown and never ask about my ideas. Jake nodded and turned to Princess Zara. And you? I want to explore space and help people, Princess Zara said, but everyone expects me to just fight battles and look strong. Nobody asks if I want to find peaceful solutions to problems. Finally, Jake looked at Princess Keth. And you? I want to build things that help people, Princess Keth said quietly. But my family thinks I should focus on making weapons instead of making life better. Jake turned back to face the assembled aliens. So we have 3 brilliant women who want to learn, explore, and build. And 3 civilizations that need better relationships with each other. Why are we trying to solve this with marriage? The hall went completely silent. Even the alien news reporter stopped moving. I have a different idea, Jake said. Instead of me choosing one princess, why do not we create something new? An alliance between all 3 civilizations with humans. As neutral partners, King Aldrin frowned. Such an alliance has never been attempted. Because nobody trusted each other enough to try, Jake replied. But your daughters do. They have been working together for the past week, sharing ideas and solving problems. They make a great team. He gestured to the 3 princesses. Princess, Lyrana could lead scientific and cultural exchange between all our worlds. Princess Zara could head up peaceful exploration and emergency response. Princess Keth could oversee joint engineering projects that benefit everyone. Queen Vexera leaned forward. And what would be your role in this alliance? Jake smiled. The same thing I have always done. Fix things when they break, solve problems when they come up, help people when they need it. You would be an advisor? Emperor Korthak asked. I would be a friend, Jake corrected. Someone who listens to what people need and helps them figure out solutions. Princess Lyrana stepped forward. I think his idea is brilliant. Instead of one marriage creating one alliance, we create 3 friendships that benefit everyone. Princess Zara nodded enthusiastically. We could establish joint missions to help planets in need, sharing resources and knowledge instead of competing. And joint research projects, Princess Keth added. Combining our technologies to solve problems none of us could handle alone. The 3 princesses looked at each other, then at their parents, then at Jake. We accept this proposal, they said together. The alien crowd was stunned. This was not how these ceremonies were supposed to end, but King Aldrin stood up slowly. You propose friendship over marriage? Cooperation over conquest? Yes, Jake said simply. Because that is what humans do best. We make friends and help each other. And what do you personally gain from this? Queen Vexara asked suspiciously. Jake thought about it. I get to keep doing what I love, fixing things and helping people. But now I can do it on a much bigger scale. Emperor Korthak was quiet for a long time. Then he began to laugh. It was a deep rumbling sound that filled the hall. A maintenance worker teaches 3 civilizations about diplomacy, he said. This human truly is extraordinary. Over the next 6 months, the Alliance of 4 Worlds became the most successful diplomatic partnership in galactic history. Princess Lyrana established the interspecies knowledge exchange, allowing scientists and scholars from all 4 civilizations to share discoveries and learn from each other. Princess Zara created the emergency response fleet, with ships from all 4 worlds working together to help planets hit by disasters, pirate attacks, or other emergencies. Her warriors learned that protecting people was more satisfying than fighting wars. Princess Keth founded the Joint Engineering Initiative, combining human practicality with alien advanced technology. Their first project was mass-producing Jake's universal emergency beacons. Their second project was designing ships that could travel faster and safer than ever before. Jake returned to the new frontier, but now his job was much more interesting. He traveled between worlds, helping solve problems that ranged from broken space stations to diplomatic disputes. He became known as the human who fixes things, and beings from dozens of species would call for his help when they had problems nobody else could solve. He still wore his old work clothes and carried his toolbox. He still preferred fixing machines to giving speeches. But now he understood something important about himself and about humans in general. Humans were not the strongest or smartest or most advanced species in the galaxy, but they had something special. They could see solutions that others missed, make friends with anyone, and find ways to help people work together. Lisa became the official human ambassador to the Alliance, a job that mostly involved laughing at Jake's adventures and helping him understand alien customs he still found confusing. Captain Stevens was promoted to admiral and given command of the first joint human-alien exploration fleet. He never stopped being amazed that his maintenance engineer had accidentally become one of the most important humans in the galaxy. And the three princesses. They became the best of friends and the most effective leaders their peoples had ever seen. They sent Jake messages regularly asking for advice on everything from engineering problems to diplomatic crises. Jake always answered the same way. What do the people actually need? How can we make that happen? And what is the simplest way to do it? 1 year after the trial, Jake was back in a maintenance bay, training new engineers who would serve on Alliance ships. A young technician named Peter asked him for advice about working with aliens. How do you know what to say to them? Peter asked. They are so different from us. Jake looked up from the gravity unit he was repairing, a newer model but with the same basic problems as always. Just treat them like people, he said. Listen to what they need, try to help when you can, and do not be afraid to admit when you do not know something. Most problems are not as complicated as they seem. Is that really all there is to it? Jake smiled and returned to his work. That, and try not to break anything important. Outside the window, ships from 4 different worlds flew together through space, heading out to explore new planets and help people who needed it. The Alliance was working because 4 civilizations had decided that friendship was better than fighting, cooperation was better than competition, and that sometimes the best solutions came from the most unexpected places. Jake finished fixing the gravity unit and moved on to the next repair job. There was always something that needed fixing, always someone who needed help, and now he had friends across the galaxy who felt the same way. It had all started with one accidental trip into an alien arena. But Jake had learned that the best accidents were the ones that helped you discover who you really were. He was Jake Miller, human engineer, problem solver, and friend to 3 alien princesses who had taught him that being ordinary was actually pretty extraordinary after all.